Go ahead, say it again. Her voice was low, shaking. You always lied better than you listened. He tried to smile, lips taut. Honey, don't make a scene, we can talk like adults. She laughed sharp. Like adults, now you want honesty. The older woman in pearls flinched at the edge of the room. Now isn't the time for. Stop, she fixed her gaze, ice cold. Sit down, both of you. The room was silent but for the rattle of a cheap window unit. Sweat beaded the villain's brow. He hissed, you'll regret this, and so will your kids. She turned, planting both hands on the manila envelope. The only thing I regret is trusting any of you. The murmur of the crowd swelled to a hum, tension lining every wall, every glance. The scraping of a chair was the only movement. He tried one more time, voice tight. There's nothing in there that'll help you. Her finger stabbed the table. Watch me. But before she pushed the evidence forward, everything had been different. Not a crowd, not humid air, just the certainty that her life was finished. To understand how she ended up here, you have to start 71 days earlier, on a rain-soaked roadside in Texas. $45.12. That was all Amanda had left, displayed in backlit, unforgiving numbers on her phone as rain clawed down her windshield. The old Ford rattled in neutral, wipers smearing more than clearing, her two battered suitcases stacked next to her youngest, Maddox, in the back seat. She typed Jasper, Newton County, Arkansas into her phone's maps, but cell service flickered, lost in the low clouds and miles of empty farmland. The gas station on Route 287 outside Amarillo looked deserted, washed gray by the downpour, its single light flickering above a turquoise gate. She squinted at the sagging clapboard, the neon open sign turned to nothing, tape peeling over rush job boarded windows. Mom, where is the house? Maddox's voice was small, tracing a raindrop on the glass. His shirt was 2 sizes too small, his shoes patched and mismatched. Since the split, he'd grown quiet, wary, like asking might make things worse. That's it, baby, Amanda said, trying to smile. The place by the fence, see the sign. He scowled, looks scary, can we go home? Amanda bit her cheek, voice steady. This is home, for now. She cursed her ex under her breath. Last time Maddox asked for him, she'd said nothing, just squeezed his hand. Behind her, her eldest, Olivia, 13 and silent as stone, clutched a water-spotted backpack. She only said he won't show. Amanda shook her head. We don't need him, we've got each other right. Rain thumped harder as if trying to drown her out. The memory of Margaret Sinclair, her stepmother, dressed in crisp white at the funeral, dabbing her eyes with practiced sorrow, cropped up in Amanda's mind. I'm sure you understand, Margaret had said, her voice syrup-thick. Your father had no choice but to leave the diner and the house lot. It's a burden, not a blessing, Amanda. In that memory's echo, Margaret's new husband, Carl, had smirked. Amanda's half-sister, Rachel, chimed, no one wants that place anyway. Dad always called it a dump. Margaret's eyes cut sideways. Still, best to keep it in the family. Now the family was miles away, dry and warm and laughing. Amanda only had this derelict shell and 2 children with nowhere else to go. But as she slid the key from the crumpled legal envelope, Amanda noticed something strange, a slip of paper tucked between the boards. It was old, folded many times, impossible to read without prying it loose. Her gut said it was more than a trick of the light. If you've ever stood alone as others picked over your life, each taking from you what you barely knew you had, keep listening. You're not the only one. Amanda popped the trunk herself, umbrella lost somewhere in the back seat, and trudged toward the turquoise gate. The padlock was rusted, the chain so old it snapped with barely a twist. Olivia eyed the gas station from under her hood. Don't think it's safe, Mom. Amanda gripped Maddox's hand tighter. We'll handle it together. She pressed the battered key into the door, the scrape of metal against tumblers louder than the rain. The inside was thick with the must of damp wood and gasoline. Dust caught her throat. Broken chairs pushed against the wall, faint outlines of boots on the warped floor. Maddox sneezed. There's something burned, smells weird. Olivia hovered near the back wall, flashlight from her phone skittering over decayed posters. Look at this, Mom, there's light under there. The second hook, if this was the dump everyone said, someone else had been here, recently. Amanda's foot nudged something, a loose board. The edge lifted easily, revealing gray, pressed towels stacked atop a dresser drawer. But below, the bottom drawer felt heavy, maddeningly it wouldn't open fully. She felt for creases, found a seam, a false bottom, 4 inches thick. For a moment she half laughed at herself. Secrets were for old novels, not her life. Until she slid the panel back and saw what was stacked beneath. 2 fat rolls of 20s, a ledger bound in cracked red leather, and a capped bottle smoking faintly of whiskey. Every instinct screamed to slam it shut, to pretend she'd seen nothing. Instead, Amanda found herself whispering, "We just found our start." Amanda pried the panel farther, scooping up a handful of old bills and turning them in her hand. Faded but real, recent, too, not the falling-apart pay her dad used to pull from the register. And the journal. It was labeled only FHS, dated 15 years ago. She glanced at Olivia. The girl, blinking back her surprise, whispered, "Is that money, Mom?" Amanda nodded, heart tripping. "It's money, but it's something more. Sit tight." With Maddox clinging to her arm, she thumbed the journal open. The script was her father's, thick and concise, no-nonsense entries about deliveries, bills paid, barrel shipments. The last page wasn't notes but a letter. "Amanda, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Those liens Margaret filed, nonsense, house was paid, every last penny 15 years back, she'll say otherwise. My real business was never the diner, look close, you'll see it. For you, if you're brave enough, trust only those who will show their faces. Dad." Amanda's vision stung. She wiped at her eyes, lungs tight. Margaret, all those years whispering about debts, forging liens, calling Amanda ungrateful. Olivia leaned closer, murmured, "She lied, Mom, Margaret lied." Amanda closed the journal with shaking hands. "Yeah, she did." Her voice was low. "But we're not done, we're going to find out just how much." Maddox interrupted, Are we rich?" Amanda almost laughed. "Not yet, kid, but things are about to change." As Amanda searched the rest of the dresser, her fingers caught on a slim envelope wedged in the corner. Inside were 2 keys on a brass ring, each etched with the same initials, FHS. A folded note slipped free. "South closet under rug. If anyone else is reading this, you're trespassing. Amanda, remember your promise." Under the faded rug in the bedroom's far side, Amanda found what looked like a trapdoor. 1 key fit the lock exactly. It was heavier than expected. The air beneath reeked of sweet corn and old casks. Maddox peeked down, wide-eyed. The space below was lined in barrels, glass bottles, and stacked wooden crates. Electric lights cast an oily glow. Amanda realized it wasn't just a room. It was a full-blown distillery, humming, machinery low but alive, quietly running. Someone was still using it. Someone, maybe recently, no dust on the controls, fresh prints on the handle. She felt hope for the first time in ages. "We have to find out who's behind this," Amanda said, her voice barely a whisper. Olivia, practical as ever, worried, "What if they come back? What if Margaret knows?" Amanda shook her head. "I don't care anymore, we need the truth, and maybe, just maybe, this is what Dad wanted us to find." But before they could think how, Olivia said, "Mom, look, there's more money, and is that a phone?" Under a crate, a burner phone, still warm from recent use. Amanda stared at the incoming calls, all unmarked, all last dialed within days. Then the ledger caught her attention again, pages of cash flows, each quarter summarized in columns of nearly 6 figures. Amanda gasped. "This isn't just old cash, kids. Someone's been moving $500,000 a year through our house." The next morning, Amanda drove straight to Town Hall in Jasper, her hair still wet from the shower, a hoodie zipped over her clothes. She didn't bother hiding the fatigue in her face. The place was only half alive, the green-brown Buffalo River crawling past as she parked just outside the county record's office. Inside, the clerk Jesse, coffee breath, counting days to retirement, looked over the old liens Amanda showed. Jesse squinted at the faint blue stamp on the papers. "These were filed 3 years ago," she muttered. "But property tax says your daddy cleared his mortgage in '07. Amanda pressed, "So who put these liens on?" Jesse frowned. "It's all digital now, but looks like a Margaret S. Sinclair filed 'em. Wait, ain't she your stepmom?" Amanda nodded grimly. "She said the estate was drowning in debt, said I was lucky to get anything at all." Jessie shook her head, lips drawn tight. "If these are fake, someone's in trouble, sweetie. This ain't small potatoes forgery." Amanda's heart hammered. The ledger, the fake liens, the working distillery, there was a criminal operation here, more than garden variety family fraud. Jessie leaned over, voice lowered. "Get yourself a decent lawyer. The kind who knows fraud law backward and forward, and stay quiet till you know who's watching. Margaret's in town for the divorce hearing, 60 days, then her assets are locked down for good." Amanda's whole life seemed to shrink into that clock, ticking down with every passing hour. The time to act was now. Amanda, Olivia, and Maddox went back to the gas station. Amanda paced, scanning the lot for odd tire marks, nose attuned to sharp chemical notes wafting in the wind. A battered red pickup rolled past the property and vanished up the empty road. That night, Amanda didn't sleep. She sorted the evidence, photos of the barrels, close-ups of ledgers, all the fake filings. Olivia, curled on the sagging sofa, muttered in her sleep, "Mom, don't let them take it." Just before dawn, Amanda found the number for Marley Grant, a lawyer in Fayetteville, said to have a chip on her shoulder and a vendetta against real estate cheats. Marley picked up on the second ring. "If your stepmother's last name is Sinclair, you got about 60 days to put her in jail or you get nothing. Come in now. Bring everything." Amanda was in Marley's office before noon, kids with her, ledgers and cash in a Walmart bag. Marley, wiry and tireless in jeans and a pearl snap, whistled at the contents. "You know what you just walked in with? This ledger's bigger than you think. It's not just the property. There's an active illegal operation here." Amanda tensed. "Can we prove estate fraud?" Marley grinned wolfish. "With this, oh honey, we're not just proving fraud, we're breaking open a racket." Amanda blinked, the scale of it finally crashing in. "My father paid off every debt. Margaret claimed it back." "Yeah, she leveraged fake debts to take liens against the property, then ran this place as a distillery and antiques clearinghouse. That's felony wire fraud if she crossed state lines, and I guarantee with this kind of money she did." Olivia piped up, voice fierce, "So she goes to jail." Marley raised an eyebrow. "After we freeze her assets, sure, but listen, she's mid-divorce. Once her decree goes final, all her money locks down. 60 days or bust. We need to move fast." Amanda, grasping at the pace of it, whispered, "How?" Marley tapped the table. "I set up a state-level investigation, hand it all to the Attorney General's office. You stay quiet and make sure you're never alone." Amanda's pulse thundered. "What if Margaret finds out?" Marley's voice dropped to a conspiratorial hush. "If she smells what you've got, she'll run, she'll threaten, or she'll try to buy you out. You let me handle that. Focus on your kids, you're stronger than you know." Amanda left Marley's office with new papers to sign, a heavier sense of purpose, and a deadline, 60 days or the racket would be protected forever. But evil adapts quick. By week's end, Amanda's phone screen flashed Margaret Sinclair's number. The call went unanswered, but the voicemail cut deep. "This is all a misunderstanding, Amanda. Don't make things worse for yourself." A day later, Carl appeared outside the gas station, smug as always, sunglasses glinting. "You don't want to get involved, Amanda," he said, leaning into the open window. These people aren't safe, you could get hurt. Amanda stared him down. You threaten my kids, Carl, I'll bring state police myself. He laughed cold. No one's coming for you, you're nothing here, Margaret will see to that. Maddox, hidden behind Amanda's legs, whispered, he scares me, Mom. Amanda felt fear, then fury. He should be scared of us. She triple-locked the doors, pressed emergency contacts into Olivia's phone, and watched the driveway for hours that night. Then, near midnight, a soft metallic clatter dragged Amanda from restless sleep. Someone tried prying at the side shed. Amanda crept, bat in hand, to the side window. The intruder had already gone, but a fresh dent marred the shed's lock. She called Marley. They tried to break in. Marley's voice was brusque. Stay where you are. I'm calling a sheriff's deputy for a patrol. And tomorrow, you and I sit down with the Attorney General's office. No delays, no more warnings. Amanda packed a duffel for the kids, heart pounding. Olivia and Maddox were leaving for a while, just until it's safe. The next morning, state officials met Amanda at the Jasper Law Office. The scene was tense, polished hallway kind of tense. Margaret flanked by her divorce attorney, Carl lurking near the entrance, Rachel with barely masked contempt swallowing her words. Marley handed Amanda a folder of neatly collated evidence. Ledgers, photos, Margaret's forged signatures. Marley's voice was even clear. Your father's paid mortgage, forged liens, active illegal distillery and antique warehouse, all tied together, all directed Mrs. Sinclair. Margaret snorted. My husband handled those affairs, I was simply. That's enough, Marley interjected. We have your write-offs for business expenses filed last quarter. You expected no one to check, but you overplayed your hand. The Attorney General's investigator entered, voice formal. All parties here are now under investigation. No one leaves town. In the flicker of the courthouse lights, Amanda saw panic ripple in Margaret's perfect composure. Margaret spat, Amanda, you greedy, bitter little. Amanda leveled her gaze, cool as mountain shade. You lied to everyone, that ends now. Dead silence. Olivia stood a half-step behind her, defiant, Maddox clutching her free hand. The confrontation built fast, Margaret's lawyer urging silence, Carl raising his hands, Rachel turning white. The evidence was undeniable. The final blow was Amanda's, her hand on the manila folder, the rage and sadness of years behind every word. Go ahead, Amanda said, voice trembling but hot. Say it again, you always lied better than you listened. Margaret tried to smile. Honey, don't make a scene, we can talk like adults. Amanda's laugh was sharp as a slap. Like adults, now you want honesty. Margaret's lip quivered. Now isn't the time for. Stop, sit down, both of you. Amanda's command cut through the room, halting even the investigator. Sweat gathered on Carl's brow as Amanda slid the folder across the table, flipping it open. He hissed, you'll regret this, and so will your kids. Amanda spat, the only thing I regret is trusting any of you. Murmurs rose from the observing officials, each waiting for someone to blink, someone to break. Carl, desperate, tried one more time. There's nothing in there that'll help you. Amanda stabbed a finger at the paperwork. Watch me. She pushed forward, exposing the ledgers, the distillery blueprints, the crossed-eyed signatures. In quick succession, authorities seized the folder, began scanning, murmuring among themselves. Margaret's facade cracked for the first time in Amanda's adult life. Olivia watched, pride and wonder mixed on her face. Maddox whispered, Are we safe now, Mom? Amanda knelt beside him, voice gentle, Not yet, but close. Margaret collapsed into her chair, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Amanda, we can work something out, I could. It was all Carl's idea, he pushed me. If I tell them everything. Carl snapped, Don't you dare, Margaret. I won't go down alone. Rachel for once broke the alliance. Mom, I told you this would happen. I'm not going to prison for either of you. In under an hour, every alliance fractured. Margaret claimed her innocence, blaming Carl, offering evidence to the state. Carl, furious, dumped a trove of emails, texts, pay stubs implicating Margaret and Rachel. Rachel called the IRS directly, bartering insider info for a plea deal. Amanda watched them turn, each more desperate, more bitter, more alone. The Attorney General's investigator called it assets frozen, arrest warrants secured, fraud charges to be processed. None of you are going anywhere for a long time. Amanda sat back, stunned. Years of self-doubt, hand-to-mouth struggle, every insult and closed door, it was all behind her now. Outside, as sirens wailed and cars departed, Marley touched Amanda's arm. "Told you, you're stronger than you think." Amanda's head dropped, a tear escaping before she could stop it. "Thank you, Marley. None of this, none would have happened without you." Marley shrugged. "You did the hard part, Amanda. Now take care of your kids, build something here. This is your chance." In the months that followed, justice moved swift and merciless. Margaret was prosecuted for fraud, sentenced to 7 years, her estate, holdings, and all liquid assets surrendered to the state. Carl, exposed as the scheme's operational head, took a plea bargain, 8 years in federal prison, assets frozen, pension revoked. Rachel, the enabler, traded evidence for leniency but lost her inheritance. She left town, shunned and silent. Community gossip raged for weeks. The woman in pearls, not so perfect after all. The family who claimed to be above it all, now scattered and ruined. Amanda and her children, for the first time in memory, had a home. Amanda invested every cent of the estate's windfall, over $11 million after legal fees, into restoring the gas station and lot. She gutted the old house, stripped to the beams, rebuilt with her own hands. She opened a new diner, turned the distillery operation to legal use, partnered with a whiskey bottler, and secured a steady career for herself and for Olivia, who apprenticed as a manager by 16. For Maddox, Amanda built a playroom in the attic, secret passages and all. "You always loved adventure," she told him, and this time it was true. Amanda stood outside her restored home on a midsummer night, Maddox chasing fireflies in the grass, Olivia laughing on the porch. The wind that night was sweet and patient. She fought for them, for herself, for the truth. What mattered most, Amanda understood now, wasn't the money or the home. It was the trust rebuilt, the fear gone, her legacy no longer in someone else's hands. Sometimes justice is a hammer, sometimes a key. She found hers in a 4-inch drawer, but it took losing everything before she dared open it. If you've ever wondered whether standing your ground is worth the bruises, just look at a house once left for dead, now warm and alive. There are second chances, even for people everyone else counted out. And as Amanda watched her kids chase constellations over Buffalo River, she realized, some victories aren't about gold. They're about finally being free. A soft hush had settled over the Arkansas night. Amanda sat on the hood of her truck, crickets singing and the fireflies blinking around her like tiny floating lanterns. Olivia had drifted inside with a paperback, her laughter trailing off in distant echoes, but Maddox lingered in the tall grass, spinning with a jar grasped between both hands. It had been 3 months since the courtroom storm. The news crews had left. The lawyers' calls grew less frequent. Every crisis-fueled morning now yielded to the slower rhythms of paintbrushes, repair tools, and the hum of her own heart finally steady. There were still difficulties, paperwork snarls, construction setbacks, the late-night memories that sometimes clawed in and made her sit upright, gasping. But those felt like the aches of growth, not survival. She noticed Maddox quiet suddenly, shadow still against the field. His head was tipped up, brow furrowed. Amanda slipped off the truck, crossing barefoot over cool, packed dirt. "Something wrong, bud?" she called, voice gentle. He shook his head but didn't turn. "No, just sometimes I think I see Dad, you know, out beyond the fence where it gets dark." Amanda's chest tightened. She knelt beside him, her arm looping loosely around his shoulders. "You miss him?" she asked. He answered after a long moment. I don't know, maybe I just want to ask why he left or why Margaret hated us so much. Like, did we do something bad? Amanda pulled him close. Never, she said fiercely. People leave for their own reasons, and sometimes those reasons have nothing to do with us at all. And Margaret, well, she saw everything as something to own, not something to love. That's not us, Maddox. He nodded, his shoulders relaxing. You think we'll stay here forever? She considered before responding. The porch light spilled a halo across the grass. As long as you want, as long as it feels right. This is our home now because we choose it, not because someone handed it to us or tried to take it away. Maddox smiled then, faint but true. The question, Amanda knew, wasn't just his. It throbbed in her chest too. Was it really over? Did a person ever get to put the past down for good? The screen door banged, and Olivia's voice rang out across the night. You're missing dessert. Amanda straightened, dusting off her knees. Maddox dashed past her, feet barely touching the ground. She followed in, pausing to glance back at the fence beyond which her life had changed, first for worse, now for better. For a moment she thought she saw a flicker of movement, the old restlessness, perhaps her father's echo out there. She smiled instead, silent thanks on her lips. Inside, the kitchen glowed. Olivia had cleaned the old diner counter, restored and polished, with a trio of blueberry scones cooling on a rack. There was music from Maddox's playlist, some bright indie tune, impossible to have guessed in the past life. You know, Olivia said, handing Amanda a plate, the health department inspector asked me this morning if the whiskey label was really registered. I told him, you want to see the paperwork? My mom files everything alphabetically. He laughed so hard he almost dropped his clipboard. Amanda grinned, taking a bite of scone. We're legitimate now, even the state says so. Olivia's eyes sparkled, something new in her expression, pride, not just defiance. It's weird, isn't it? Rachel called last week. She wanted to apologize, said she wished she'd never let them do what they did. Amanda looked up, surprised. What did you say? I said it's not too late to do the right thing, but she has to choose her own path. Like we did, Olivia replied. And if she ever wants to see me again, she comes clean first. Amanda reached, squeezing her hand. You're wise, kid, wiser than I was at your age. Olivia shrugged but held the hand for a long second. I learned from the best. Maddox interrupted, mouth full. Are we still keeping the secret passage in my room, Mom? Like forever. Amanda laughed, a sound she hadn't known herself capable of a year ago. That's a family tradition now, she said. A reminder that even the smallest places have room to hide and new doors waiting to be found. A gentle knock came at the front door. Amanda exchanged a glance with Olivia, heart leaping in that old habit of dread, but Olivia just rolled her eyes, lip quirking. It's Mr. Parker from the co-op. He always brings eggs on Thursdays, remember? Amanda relaxed, one more knot untied. She wiped her hands and went to greet him. On the porch stood Hank Parker, broad-shouldered and kindly, holding a tray of brown eggs and a sack of fresh tomatoes. Evenin', Amanda, he said. Got a few more than usual. My youngest made up a sign for your place at school. Sinclair Station, best pie and honest whiskey. Town's proud of you, thought you ought to know. Amanda took the eggs, warmth fluttering up her arms. Thank you, Hank. Tell Lee I'll trade her pie recipes any time. He beamed. Sure thing. Oh, the Historical Society called. They want you to speak at the fall festival. About the station, the family story, all of it. Seems you're a legend these days. Amanda ducked her head, embarrassed. I'm no legend, just lucky to have survived it. But as Hank drove off, Amanda looked up at the sign above her new door. Sinclair Station, the letters restored in turquoise paint. Beneath it was a plaque Olivia had hung without asking. Amanda's house, second chances welcome. Back inside, she set the eggs on the counter, noticing how the place no longer smelled of dust and oil, but of cinnamon, baked bread, coffee, and hope. Her gaze lingered on the shelf above the register, where the red FHS ledger sat between jars of wildflowers. Maddox had darted back to the window, peering out as the last of the fireflies blinked away. "I think tonight's a good night, Mom," he said, turning to look at her to wish for things. Amanda joined him, pressing her palm to the cool glass. It wasn't the wish for money, for vindication. It was for the stubborn hope that had kept her upright through every lie. "I think tonight," she said, "we don't have to wish, we just get to be." Olivia sidled up beside them, arms looped around their waists. The three of them, once scattered, now tightly woven, imperfect but whole, stood together, gazing out over their patch of Arkansas and up at the moon. After a long time, Maddox yawned, and Amanda herded him up to bed, tucking him in amid a riot of books and the soft clunk of his firefly jar. She sat until his breath deepened and the furrows in his brow eased out. Downstairs, Olivia had left a note. "Up early for deliveries. Don't forget to make coffee. Love you." Amanda smiled, her heart warm with the knowledge that routine could be a blessing, too. Just before turning in herself, she rolled the red ledger in her hands one last time. Its pages were finished, the record of a life that had tried to slip away. She set it back on the shelf, but not at the end. Instead, she tucked a fresh notebook next to it, labeled simply Amanda, 2024. If stories must be told, she thought, let it be in her own words. And so, in a town that had nearly forgotten her, in a family nearly splintered by greed, in a place once written off as a burden, Amanda Sinclair wrote a new chapter. The only thing she regretted now was not having believed in herself sooner. But as Olivia liked to remind her, every legacy is built one day at a time. Outside, the dark finally yielded to dawn, and the scent of cut hay drifted sweet through the open window. Amanda let herself breathe in the life she'd made, unpromised, unborrowed, hers alone. And when the phone rang with news of another order, another neighbor calling just to check in, she answered with a voice steady from use. "Sinclair Station," she said, smiling. "How can I help you?" And for the first time, she knew exactly what she meant. The seasons turned. Summer settled out into golden autumn, leaves tumbling in copper spirals over the worn Sinclair Station sign. Amanda, apron dusted in flour and hair tied back, carried pies to the porch for the fall festival. Across the yard, Olivia corralled volunteers, her clipboard an extension of her confident stride, and Maddox, cheeks apple bright, zipped between tables with pitchers of cider. Neighbors filtered up the walk, curious, friendly, chatty in a way Amanda had never known before. Hank Parker handed her a jar of homemade preserves, winking, "Guess we'll see if you're crust or Lee's wins." Amanda laughed. "Loser does the breakfast shift, fair." "You're on." He tipped his hat and drifted inside, where music and laughter were already beginning to swell. Not long ago she might have shrunk from the crowd, but today Amanda moved among them with ease. Children darted through her legs, borrowing quarters for games. The town clerk, Jesse, pressed a fat envelope of festival donations into Amanda's hand and whispered, "To help the next family who needs a second chance." Near sundown, after the last hayride, Olivia perched beside Amanda on the porch steps, legs stretched out as dusk painted the station in warm, forgiving light. "You realize we're the story now, not just the secret," Olivia mused, chin tilted thoughtfully. Amanda nodded, squinting at lights bobbing from the bonfire. "We earned it, with a little fight and a lot of stubbornness." Olivia's gaze was soft. "Ever wish it had gone differently?" Amanda considered, then shook her head. "No, not anymore. I wouldn't give up a minute of this, not if it meant losing where we landed." Maddox dashed up, breathless and beaming, firefly jar in both hands. "Mom, look, I caught 3, think they'll stay." Amanda smiled, kissing his tousled hair. "They stay as long as you let the lid off when they're ready to go." He nodded, understanding perfectly. As the last of the day's burdens melted into laughter and song, Amanda closed her eyes, feeling the bench beneath her, the weight of her children leaning in. She remembered battered suitcases, cold rain, the fear that nothing lasting could ever grow from loss. She opened her eyes to everything she had now, and the promise of seasons, of love freely given, of home. "Come on, you two," she said, gathering everyone close as lanterns flickered overhead. "It's our turn to write the next chapter, together." And so in warmth and hope they did.